Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery and those listening at home. Please be seated while Councillor Islam delivers the blessing.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Let us pray in the name of God, most compassionate and most merciful. Our Creator, our Sustainer, our Guide, ever-present, never unaware, infinite able, your servants and your loving care. Guide us to pure convictions, then inspire in us courage to match those convictions. We gather here tonight as servants of our community, entrusted with the responsibility to lead with wisdom, compassion, and fairness. We ask for your guidance in our discussions and decisions. May our actions reflect integrity and a sincere commitment to the well-being of every City of Gosnells residents that we represent. Grant us the humility to listen, the courage to act justly, and the strength to work together, even in our differences. May our work here tonight be for the good for all and lead to a more just, peaceful, and prosperous community here in the City of Gosnells. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Islam. Before we begin the meeting, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people and pay our respects to their elders past and present and emerging. It is now 7 o'clock and I declare the meeting open. There are no announcements of visitors and I'll begin by reading their disclaimer. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action on council decisions on items in which they may have an interest until such time as they have seen a copy of the minutes of the meeting or have been advised in writing by city staff. Please note we are live streaming and all council meetings are digitally recorded, and except for confidential agenda items, during which time the live streaming will be temporarily suspended. Thank you. I'll now move to the record of attendance. We have a few apologies. Councillor Dewhurst and Councillor Lloyd have submitted an apology. Councillor Betts was granted a leave of absence at the 10th of June OCM, and Mayor Teresa Lyons is representing the city with the CEO in Canberra, attending the 2025 National General Assembly of Local Government. That will now take us to item 3, disclosures of interests. Councillors, does anybody have any disclosures of interest for tonight? No? Thank you. We'll now move to reports of delegates. Are there any reports of delegates? Councillor Good.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williamson. Councillors wish to report on the 11th of June, attended a Gosnells District Neighbourhood Watch meeting. Terry Brown, the chair of the group, addressed the meeting. They're trying to be more active in planning future events with the city, which was encouraging to hear. They did read out some numbers of active engagement with people via the website, which is very pleasing to read, and I'm sure our director has information about that in terms of their usage, which is excellent. They are seeking more direction from police headquarters because apparently some leadership positions have been moved in the last month or two, and we're waiting to see more of what's happening with the Neighbourhood Watch. And also they're trying to be more active with doing some number plate anti-theft screws, which they do at various locations throughout the city where they physically attend, typically a Bunnings type site where they'll attend cars and go to the number plates and they can actually put these anti-theft screws on. And of course, they're always seeking additional volunteers. That was the update from the 11th of June. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillors, are there any further reports from delegates? No? Thank you. We'll now move to question time from the public. So we have a number of questions. I'll begin with Ida Smith. Could you please come forward to the lectern? That's okay. Underneath the microphone, the button underneath the screen, if you press that one and your microphone will light up red. Okay, yep. And if you begin, read one question and then we'll endeavour to get a response for you, then we can move to the next question.
Hi. Essentially, I'm a representative of the properties that are essentially next to 85 Lot 201 Kelvin Road, Maddington. So we're in 98, 94 Maddington Road and 85 Kelvin Road. So we basically, it's like an L-shaped property next to Lot 201. So obviously we've been sharing the area with this particular premise, and upon seeing their proposal, was wondering the volume, the processing volume currently in place, so that it gives us a bit of an idea of how much 20,000 to 25,000 metric tons per year is going to look like.
Thank you. I'll ask the Acting Director of Planning to provide a response.
Madam Deputy Mayor, under the Dwyer Works approval, the current operations at the subject site are approved to process up to 100,000 metric tonnes per annum.
Okay. So that means, is it now less, or is it going to be, if currently it's 100,000 and they're asking for 20,000?
This is in addition, this is a new development application.
Oh, okay, so 100 plus 120 to 120, like basically 120 to 125, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, so.
Would you like to ask your next question?
Yes, how many questions can I ask, sorry?
I'll allow all 5 questions.
All 5, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I think in the agenda, question 2 has been answered. I think it's 4 meters. Yes, the required clearance between the storage to the fence line. The question why we are asking the distance is because, as mentioned, we're next door, and I've submitted as part of our objection how it can look like sometimes whenever they have got their scrap metal stacked next to our fence. So let's say, for argument's sake, 4 meters is going to be allowed. How far from the fencing? I mean, we've got personnel in our side of the yard, up to 30 people at any given time. So there's a concern about debris and things getting into our yard. So is there any?
Thank you. I'll ask the Acting Director for Planning to answer the question. Thank you.
Madam Deputy Mayor, there are no setback distances required from the property boundaries except the front boundary under TPS, Town Planning Scheme number 6. However, the Dwyer Works approvals require a 16-metre separation between stockpiles.
Between stockpile, but none between fencing and stockpile. Okay. Yep. So my next one is the noise level. Again, as neighbours, we tend to, well, I don't want to make it like a drama or anything, but we do suffer from the noise from next door quite a bit as it is. So is there like a noise requirement or any restriction for them with the increased capacity?
Thank you. Again, if you could provide an answer, Acting Director.
Madam Deputy Mayor, the noise levels are assigned under the Environmental Protection Noise Regulations 1997. Industrial premises are permitted to emit 65 decibels, LA 10, 80 decibels, LA 1, and 90 decibels, LA max. Now, I'll just define what those LAs are. LA1 assigned levels mean an assigned level which, measured as an LA slow value, is not to be exceeded for more than 1% of the representative assessment period. LA10 assigned level means an assigned level which, measured as an LA slow value, is not to be exceeded for more than 10% of the representative assessment period.
Yeah.
LA max assigned level means an assigned level which, measured as an LA slow value, is not to be exceeded at any time.
So essentially no more than 90 decibel at any given time, which I think they're already over that, but okay. So finally...
Sorry, I'll just interrupt there.
Sorry.
Our acting CEO would like to add something further.
No worries.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. I don't know how much those numbers mean to you, but if you do have concerns about the noise being excessive, then you can report that to the city, and we're able to measure the noise and take objective levels to see whether they do exceed what's
No worries.
prescribed in the regulations.
Sure, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you. You may now ask your final question.
Yeah, my final question is with the nature of the scope of work, scrap metal and battery, lead acid and whatnot. With the increased capacity, I can see some mitigation measure being mentioned in the agenda. But do you guys reckon that that's going to be sufficient to meet the requirement, or at least to protect us, the neighboring property, from the type of contamination and pollution that is anticipated with this particular type of work?
So I'll ask the Acting Director of Planning to provide a response.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The environmental measures put in place to mitigate the risks associated with the existing operations of the subject site are outlined in the DWER, the Department of Water Environmental Regulations, Works Approval. DWER have confirmed with the city that the proposed application will require an amendment to the current works approval and licence conditions.
Yep. That's it from me for questions-wise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to call forward Miss Tracy O'Neill with one question, I think it is. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Once the rains come, the gravel car park area at Harmony Fields is reduced to a pothole disaster, which then gets filled in with more gravel. Would the city look into a more permanent solution for this recurring issue?
Thank you. I'll ask the Director for Infrastructure to provide an answer.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The rear car park at Harmony Fields is an unsealed car park, which means that potholes can form when it's wet. The city will arrange for it to be ripped and regraded to remove the potholes. We actually have no plan to seal it at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now call forward Mr. Leon Walker, and I note there are 7 questions. I'll allow all 7 questions. Thank you.
I think they're 8, Madam Mayor.
You are correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Deputy Mayor, sorry. Referring to the report titled, quote, 2025-26 differential rates, a minimum rate, tabled at the May 13 OCM, which states, as discussed with elected members, the proposed rate increase for 2025-26 is 4%, end quote. Where and when did these discussions take place?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I'll ask the Acting CEO to provide a response.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The differential rates were adopted by Council for advertising at the second meeting in May. It was one of the meetings in May, I'm sure it was the second meeting. It was about the 27th. So that was where the 4% was effectively adopted for advertising for comment.
But where was it discussed?
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, so there's a whole series of budget workshops and discussions that occur through from the start of February up until the point where effectively the differential rates get advertised. So they've been discussed at 5 or 6 workshops along the way, and ultimately the 4% was adopted for advertising at that meeting in May.
Thank you. Which elected members were present at the discussions?
The acting CEO will answer that question.
Madam Deputy Mayor, I don't have a record of who was in attendance at all of the workshops around the budget, but that is published on our website, and the record of who was in attendance at the council meeting when the 4% increase was adopted for advertising is also available in the minutes.
Thank you. Were minutes kept?
Acting CEO will answer that question.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Certainly of the council minutes, of the council meeting, minutes were recorded. We don't retain formal minutes of workshops. There's sort of an opportunity to explore issues and ask questions and have a discussion around a range of items.
Thank you. In general terms, what questions or concern were raised by elected members at the aforementioned discussions?
Again, the acting CEO will answer that question.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I guess your question relates specifically to the extent of the rate increase. So throughout those discussions, and we certainly had a more rigorous discussion of budgets this year than we perhaps have in previous years, and there was certainly a number of questions raised, and staff were requested to look at a range of opportunities to reduce expenditure. I think every councillor would have raised some concerns or some issues about projects as to whether they're required, whether they need to be done next year, where opportunities are for savings, and those have all been explored.
Thank you. Did any elected member or members present at the discussions express concerns that the proposed increases in rates were excessive?
Again, the acting CEO will answer that question.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, there were certainly councillors who were raising questions and an expectation that any rate increase is kept as low as possible.
Thank you. In preparing the proposed budget for 2025-26, were there rigorous, intentional investigations into cost reduction, for instance, by increasing productivity and efficiency, or perhaps by discontinuing non-essential services where appropriate?
Thank you. Again, the acting CEO will answer the question.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, there was a lot of questioning that went on through the budget process this year. There was certainly a desire expressed prior to us going into the budget process this year that we have more information presented around budgets, particularly around operating expenditure, so that we can look for areas where savings can be made.
Thank you. Is it possible for the city to levy rates lower than the advertised intended rates?
Yes, it is possible.
Thank you. The Local Government Act requires that the budget for 2025-26 be prepared and adopted by the 31st of August 2025. If Council rejects the budget as proposed, is there sufficient time for an updated budget to be prepared and approved by Council?
I'm advised, yes, there is sufficient time.
Thank you.
I'll now call forward Mr. Stevens with your question.
Thank you very much. My question has to do with parks in Maddington, and so this one is, why does the parks on Clifton Street and Willow Way in Maddington have no treated pine guards on them as to stop cars driving on those parks?
Thank you. The Director of Infrastructure can answer that question.
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I can't advise specifically for those two parks, but I can provide some general advice. The city does not install bollards on all parks. Generally, the city assesses if a park needs full bollarding, partial bollarding or no bollarding. These decisions depend on the local traffic, the height of the road curb and the vegetation within the park. Currently, as part of the city's urban tree canopy program, the city has commenced replacing bollards with trees in some instances. But I'm more than happy to provide advice on those two specific parks on notice.
Thank you. I'll now call forward Ms. Ratna Nimala on behalf of Ratna Flora.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Councillor, and everyone in here tonight. My name is Ratna, and I'm running a small business here in Gosnells. This business is really from my own hands, and I'm a sole trader. And I'm in here tonight to looking for how I'm gonna grow my business through council referral, or is there any chance for me to be a part of council event or markets, or is there any chance for my service for indoor plant displays in community center or council office through Tonley, Beckenham, Kenwick, and Gosnells especially? And then how I'm going to have a chance to connect with other local business through council referral.
Thank you. I'll now ask the acting CEO to provide a response.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. It might be best for you to meet with a Director of Community Engagement who is in charge of our community events and markets and things to look at what opportunities there might be for you to be involved with those events and promote your business. In terms of council facilities, we really don't provide indoor plants and flowers at our facilities. It's a cost-cutting measure, I guess, something that we've not spent funds on previously. And in terms of the third question about getting involved with other local businesses, we run a series of Business in Gosnells events that are networking events for local businesses. So the Acting Director of Planning can probably put you or get your contact details and invite you to those events so that you can come and meet other businesses who may have a need for your services.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that now brings us to public statements. So I'll now call forward Miss Ida Smith to make your public statement.
Hi, me again. So I'll make this short and quick. Essentially representing the DJ McCormick property group, which is we are 85, 94 and 98. I'm the general manager there, and we're a company that does dewatering and shoring hire. And we have helped City of Gosnells in several occasions with your civil infrastructure works. So as the parties that's been dealing with or coexist with Lot 201, all I wanted to basically say is, having read the agenda, that they haven't really been the easiest neighbours to deal with, but after the confirmation from the acting CEO saying that we can always come and approach you guys whenever we have issues, you will probably highly likely hear from us a bit more often. We have had spoke to council previously. We haven't really seen much movement from that. But with the noise and the way they have been conducting themselves in their premise hasn't been the most, or raised some concerns for our personnel's welfare. And I'm hoping that with the approval, it's not going to make situation even worse, because we really couldn't afford to spend any more resources and time managing them, making sure that they don't affect us in any way. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're acting on the best interest of our personnel in terms of safety and noise and environmental, with the concerns about contaminants and PFAS and stuff with the activities. Essentially, that really is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next public statement is from Mr. Walker. If you would like to come forward.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I refer to item 13.5.5 on the agenda. The Local Government Act mandates that councillors act in the interests of residents, ratepayers and electors. I suggest there is little, if any, benefit to the residents, ratepayers and electors of the City of Gosnells, at least in the longer term, if Councillor Good attends the NGAA conference in July and is not re-elected in October. Thus, it appears that it is not in the interests of residents, ratepayers and electors that Councillor Good attends the conference at the City's expense. However, I am advised that Councillor Good expressed interest in attending the conference because it is being hosted by the City and no other councillor was willing to attend the conference in its entirety to support the Mayor. If this is accurate, Councillor Good is to be acknowledged for his commitment. I suggest that other councillors should reflect on their commitment or lack of it. However, I assert it remains that in the longer term, it is not in the interests of residents, ratepayers and electors that Councillor Good attends the NGAA conference. I urge councillors to act in the interests of residents, ratepayers and electors by voting against the staff recommendation as stated. I also urge councillors not up for election in October to re-examine their schedules with a view to attending the NGAA conference in its entirety to support the Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. That brings us to the end of public statements. So we'll now move to item 7, the confirmation of minutes. May I seek a mover, Councillor Good, and seconder, Councillor Islam. We'll now go to the vote. Thank you. That's unanimously carried. We'll now move to item 8, receiving of petitions and presentations. Councillors? No, we have no petitions or presentations tonight. We will now move to item 9, applications for leave of absence. And I have one application for leave of absence for Councillor Dalton from the 3rd of July until the 14th of July for personal reasons. May I seek a mover, Councillor Adams, and a seconder, Councillor Baines. May you please cast your votes. Thank you. That was unanimously carried. Okay, that brings us to question 10, where we actually have no questions on notice given. Item 11, we will not be bringing any items forward tonight as we have a small agenda. Item 12, we have no reports from committee meetings. And so that brings us to item 13.2. We have nothing from the CEO, 13.1. And it brings us to 13.2, planning and development. The first item on the agenda tonight is development application, proposed change of use to residential building 90, lot 42, Matilda Street, Huntingdale. May I seek a mover, Councillor Good, and a seconder, Councillor Dalton. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williamson. Councillors, I'm in support of the staff recommendation for a number of reasons, and the key one is the fact that, one, the location, the busy road, etc. And I always put myself in the neighbour's shoes. How would I like it if someone else next door to me was doing this? The other thing I want to raise, though, is the fact that we clearly do need a policy in this particular area, because you only have to Google anything to do with short stay accommodation, Airbnbs, etc., and they're everywhere. And you can define, well, I know in the report it's saying, are we a tourism precinct or are we not? And clearly we're not. But having said that, you could easily understand somebody wanting to get us accommodation, say Thornley, and then, or Huntingdale, and then simply drive the local station and train stations, open things up. So I will support the staff recommendation, because some places it can be useful. I personally have stayed before in an Airbnb in a residential area, and I thought, fine, it works for me, why not other people? But you've got to allow for the fact of actually where this is and would I like it happening to me next door. But I'd love to see a policy developed, so give us more guidance, because otherwise the penalties that apply if this person proceeds and yet we don't approve it or do approve it. So at this stage, I'm backing the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak? No. Would any other councillors like to speak on this item or raise any questions? No. We will now... Councillor Good, would you like to close the debate? No. Okay, we will go to the vote now. Thank you, councillors. That was unanimously carried. Okay. So that now brings us to item 13.2.2, Development Application, Transport Depot and Hardstand, 63 Lot 19 Victoria Road, Kenwick. May I seek a mover? Councillor Islam. And a seconder, Councillor Baines. Councillor Islam, would you like to speak to this? No. Councillor Baines? No. Would any other councillor like to speak on this item or raise questions? No. Councillor Islam, did you want to close? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I guess looking into staff recommendations, I would like my fellow councillors to look at the recommendations and the conditions that we have there. I think it's safe to actually approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Islam. Councillors, can we please now go to the vote? Thank you, councillors. That was unanimously carried. That now brings us to item 13.2.3, Development Application, Proposed Industry Noxious Metal Processing and Storage, 89 Lot 201 Kelvin Road, Maddington. Councillors, may I seek a mover? Councillor Adams, and a seconder, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to this item? No. Councillor McDonald? No. Would any other councillor like to speak on this item or ask any questions? No? Okay. Councillor Adams, would you like to close? No? Okay. We'll now go to the vote on this item. Thank you, councillors. That was unanimously carried. For those in the gallery, that item you came for tonight was passed as per the staff recommendation. Now that your item's been heard, you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting or you're welcome to leave. It's your choice. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to item 13.2.4, Development Application, Change of Use to Temporary Storage, Hardstand and Industry Light, 45, Lot 173, Victoria Road, Kenwick. Councillor Good will be a mover, and can I seek a seconder? Councillor Singh as a seconder. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to this item? No. Councillor Singh? No. Would any other councillor like to ask a question or debate this item? No. Councillor Good, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, can we please go to the vote? Thank you, councillors. That has been unanimously carried. Okay, that brings us now to item 13.3, infrastructure. We do not have any reports for that, so we will move to item 13.4. And the first item is 13.4.1, History and Heritage Advisory Group meeting, the 5th of June. May I seek a mover? Councillor Zhang, and seconder Councillor McDonald. Councillor Zhang, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. On 5th of June, I had a privilege of attending the History and Heritage Advisory Group meeting as the Council Deputy Delegate. During the meeting, the City Coordinate Heritage Lee Barrett updated the group with regards the update on the heritage strategy, which includes the reference to the Thornley Living History Collection. And also we discussed some strategy, how we can promote the museum to the different the community groups and including the multicultural groups. I won't repeat all the agenda items here as they can be found in the meeting minutes, but I do encourage everyone to read them. This was my first time to attend this meeting, and I was surprised to learn about the intensive work this group has done to promote the history and heritage in our city. I would like to express my deepest thanks to our freeman, the ex-mayor Pat Morse, our community representative, our director of community engagement, Glenda Blake and her team, particularly Bright, for all the time and efforts spent in this area. History and heritage are a very unique area that can sometimes be overlooked in our busy modern world. However, I believe that history and heritage will help us build our connections to the place and the community we live in, for testing the sense of the belongings, especially for the younger generation. So therefore, I urge the community to visit our beautiful museum and look forward to the future programs and activities that be held over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zhang. Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak to the item? No. Would any other councillor like to speak to this item or have any questions? No. Councillor Zhang, would you like to close? No. Okay, can we now go to the vote, councillors? Thank you, councillors. That's been carried unanimously. This now brings us to item 13.5.1, the Financial Activity Statement for May 2025. May I seek a mover, Councillor Good, and seconder, Councillor Islam. Councillor Good, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Williamson. I particularly want to speak about this one because there's a beautiful set of numbers in here, but I also want to, on page 49 for councillors and for those members of the public, but I also want to congratulate Mr Walker in the public gallery for asking some terrific questions about budgeting and how much attention that we as councillors and staff do about that. So I think that was great that he asked those questions, because not often do we hear it, and because it's now 11 months into the budget, and if you look at page 49, it shows you how when you look at your budgeting, and admittedly we have had a number of adjustments throughout the year to sort of iron out the lumpy bits, if you like, when you've got to make a big adjustment, but it's worthwhile for the record and for the tape, so if anyone wants to look at it afterwards, that many of our projects are 2, 3 and 4 years long, and when annual budgets, you often have to cut off going, okay, this is going to be a 2.5 years, it might go 3.5 years, you just don't know. So to actually get a budget pretty spot on, I might add, when you look at the numbers, just in the revenue, you're looking at for the year of 148 million, and we've actually got actual for the end of the 11 months of 144 million in terms of the expected revenue. And then I look at the operating expenditure, the red and blue line is an absolute match. So that's telling you that so far we've spent $129 million. It shows the size of the budget, the complexity of the budget, and whether we actually get it right for the end of June in terms of 146, well, time will tell that. But in particular, capital expenditure. That's the big one, which is the hardest one, because it's over a number of cycles of more than 12 months. So it's hard when you've got a $10 or a $5 million project, and it's just not easy. And again, I've made the point of the adjustments, but it's nice to know that we're right on schedule at 45 million. Whether we hit 52 million, it means what we've planned and what we've budgeted is pretty much on ball, even allowing for adjustments. But for the member of the public, Mr Walker, to ask about the rate increases, again, terrific questions, because it's good to know that people are actually interested. And I would like to say that I hear my fellow councillors all the time trying to talk down what can we reduce, what can we eliminate. We're very, very mindful of that, and it's actually very pleasing that we're trying our best to keep them as low as possible. I will compare finally with our next door neighbour, the City of Canning. From memory, theirs is budgeted for 6.85% compared to our, I think 4, possibly going down to 3.9. It depends what it comes back with, because it's out for consultation. We have to do these things because obviously pay rises, wages, staffing, etc., and costs do go up. We don't want to, but again, I applaud that questioning from Mr Walker, and I'd like to let them know on the record that we really do try to keep them as low as possible. If I had my way, it would all be at zero, but that's just impossible. It's just not possible at all due to inflationary pressures. So well done on a great set of numbers so far, and maybe in, well, it's the 20... We're getting towards the end of June now. I'm thinking, well, not long to go, we'll know whether we'll be spot on. But that is probably the best of numbers in the 12 years I've been on council. So, well done.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Islam, would you like to speak to this? No? Councillors, does anybody have any questions or would like to speak on this item? No? Councillor Good, would you like to close? No? Okay, councillors, can we please go to the vote? Councillors, that's been unanimously carried. Thank you. We'll now move to item 13.5.2, the payment of accounts for May 2025. May I seek a mover? Councillor Dalton, and a seconder, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak? Councillors, would anybody like to ask a question or speak to the item? No? Councillor Dalton, would you like to close? No? Okay, councillors, may I ask you to cast your votes? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously carried. We'll now move to item 13.5.3, the differential rates, rural unimproved value agricultural concession. May I seek a mover? Councillor Adams, and a seconder, Councillor Baines. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Baines? No. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Good?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Williamson. Look, I think I have to speak on this one where you're looking to abolish the concessions due to the amounts involved. I understand the issues particularly. It's all on there, the agenda. It's something which had to be done. It's been on there for far too long. The concessions, it's so long-term for the City of Gosnells, that's important that this is actually removed. And whilst initially some people may complain, and they have the right to complain, but I have to think of the long-term future, that this concession should not exist. I've asked earlier in our briefing sessions, what causes these things, but sometimes, it's years ago, and we have to go, hang on, there's what's the greater good for the city, and the greater good is this concession needs to be removed. So we're mindful of it. I know my fellow councillors are, but yes, I support the staff recommendation because we have to get this land improved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Would any other councillor like to speak to this item? No? Councillor Adams, would you like to close? No? Okay, councillors, can I ask you to cast your votes? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously carried. We'll now move to item 13.5.4, tender 06/2025, construction of concrete footpaths, ramps and crossovers. May I seek a mover? Councillor Zhang, and a seconder, Councillor Singh. Councillor Zhang, would you like to speak to it? No. Councillor Singh? No. Would any other councillor like to speak or ask any questions? No. Councillor Zhang, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, can I ask you to cast your vote? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously carried. Now, this brings us to item 13.5.5, attendance at the National Growth Areas Alliance 2025 Congress. May I seek a mover? Councillor McDonald, and a seconder, Councillor Dalton. Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak to this item? No. Councillor Dalton? No. Would any other councillor like to speak to this item or ask any questions? No. Councillor McDonald, would you like to close? No. Okay, councillors, may I ask you to cast your vote? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously carried. Item 14 on the agenda, motions of which previous notice has been given. We have received none. Item 15 is urgent business, and we have received no urgent business. Now, this brings us to item 16, confidential matters. For this item, I will need to close the meeting and I'll ask members of the gallery to leave. First, I'll ask for a mover to close, Councillor Dalton, a seconder, Councillor McDonald, and we'll close the meeting. Oh, sorry, councillors, we need to vote before I close it. Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously supported. So I'll now close the meeting 7:45. I'll now reopen the meeting 7:48. Thank you, members of the gallery. That item was unanimously carried for the staff recommendation. That now brings us to the close of the meeting. So we will now close the meeting at 7:49. Thank you to everyone in the gallery for attending tonight and those online. Thank you, councillors and staff, for tonight.